We unpack the strange, bewildering nightmare that is The Day Before, Epic beats Google in court, and Modern Warfare 3 sales drop off a cliff. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is GINX News. The Day Before. What was the most wishlisted game on Steam has become somewhat hard to avoid over the last few days, and its release over the weekend has now proved to be one of the strangest, wildest, and confusing gaming stories of the year. And it's got it all. A complete last-minute genre change, a ton of game-breaking bugs, and accusations that the whole thing is just a big, giant scam. So what the hell was actually happening? Well, let's start with some context. The Day Before was originally announced back in 2021. It was coming from developers Fantastic, that's with an FN, and publisher Mytona, and admittedly, I had never heard of either of them before this, and neither had most people, but luckily for them, they were making a new open-world MMO zombie survival game. So as you can imagine, Steam users lapped that shit up. And it certainly helped that Fantastic talked a big game. This was going to redefine the genre. It was going to innovatively break the mold. It was going to journey to the moon, create a giant telescope out of lunar dust, find your missing dad, and be back in time for tea. And boom, just like that, it was the most wishlisted game on Steam. Now, of course, this kind of attention did raise some eyebrows. It didn't help that the logo looked like The Last of Us. Oh, and this screenshot looked like SnowRunner. Oh, and a trailer literally copied Call of Duty shot for shot. But no, this is totally real, bro. It's fine. I'm just gonna go wishlist it right now because it's got zombies in it though, hasn't it? So it's obviously gonna be good. I'm not listening. I'm gonna wishlist it. I've wishlisted it. And so it went. Its original release date of June 2022 came and went, where it was delayed due to moving to Unreal Engine 5, apparently. And then there were some legal issues after Fantastic forgot to trademark the name of their own game. And again, I know what you're thinking, man, you need to wishlist this shit right now because it's a zombie game and that brings us to this month. And finally, it was coming out. Well, in early access, of course. We did have a new trailer, which I swear looks different. I'll just go pull up an older video to compare and oh, Fantastic have pulled those from YouTube. That's not sus at all. But don't worry, they have released a statement saying, please don't accuse us of scamming. Well, I guess they did say please. And it's release day. Swarms of gamers line up to pay $39 for this. A buggy mess with basically every asset from the Unreal Engine store. Oh, and you know how this was an MMO zombie survival game? Surprise! It's actually an extraction shooter now! You're welcome! Well, that didn't go down well, and there was a whole load of backlash. And look, I don't like to victim blame, but come on guys, if you don't want to get burnt, don't run into a burning building. It's pretty simple. Fantastic did respond by saying they're going to fix the game. They've been building it for 5 years, and this thing's got legs, goddammit. The Day Before will be here for decades to come. The Day Before, forever. Well, 4 days later, the game has been pulled from Steam, and they're closing the studio. It just writes itself. As you would guess, this peeved off a lot of people. They spent money expecting a totally different game with rolling content. They didn't get it. You can, of course, refund a game on Steam if you've played it for less than 2 hours, though hilariously, the tutorial lasted much longer than that. But since then, refunds have now been opened up to literally everyone who bought the game, and rightly so, and it just leaves the question, what the hell is actually going on? Most people are saying it's just a big old scam, and while it certainly has all the ingredients of one, there are issues with that theory. Not only can everyone get a refund, but Steam holds onto funds for a month before giving it to developers, so I don't see them actually getting any of the money from this. Fantastic have said themselves that they will receive nothing from the Day Before sales, though can you trust them? Probably not. Though interestingly, in their statement, they do say that all income is being used to pay off debts to their partners. They've also said they don't own the IP. Naturally, I'd assume the publisher, Mytona, owns it then instead. There's also the possibility that everyone involved is just incredibly incompetent. I haven't even touched on the fact that the game was being made by a load of volunteers, as if it couldn't get any more sketchy. Or perhaps the game itself is just a front and there's some dodgy fraud going on behind the scenes. Right now, it's just speculation because who knows at this point. Also, we really did have time to cover literally everything to this story because it's just that wild, so feel free to comment down below with any juicy tidbits that I missed. And maybe we can learn a lesson from this because, you know, if an unknown indie studio promises a groundbreaking AAA experience, the chances are they're full of shit. Oh, that was a doozy. So let's move on to some industry news now. Epic has taken on Google in court and won. The Fortnite creator filed the lawsuit back in 2020, claiming that Google had created a monopoly with its Google Play Store on Android devices. After all, that's how more than 95% of Android apps are distributed. And that bugged Epic, considering Google takes a 30% revenue share from any app on the Google Play Store. Oh, and they also require that the apps use Google Play's own billing system, making Google look like that annoying narc that just has to insert themselves into every damn situation.
Coach!
And while it's a compelling case, Epic also accused Apple of the same thing, but hopes weren't exactly high after they lost in that case. Well, this time, there were two fundamental differences. The Google case came down to a jury vote, and second, Epic claimed it had evidence that Google offered lucrative deals with device manufacturers in exchange for excluding other app stores from their devices. You know, like Epic. Well, that jury ruled that Google did have an illegal monopoly and that Epic was damaged as a result. It's still up in the air what that actually all means. Google obviously plans to appeal, and the companies will meet the judge in January to discuss possible remedies. And part of me does love seeing big greedy corporations taken down in court. However, it's a lot less satisfying when it's done by another big greedy corporation. In fact, it's kind of depressing that this is literally like the only scenario in which companies seem to be held to account. But hey, maybe V-Bucks will become cheaper on Android now. We do like to have fun on this show. When Modern Warfare 3 came out a month ago, it topped pretty much all of the charts and set the record for the highest player engagement in the whole reboot trilogy. But it didn't take too long for it to drop off, with UK sales in its first 3 weeks 38% lower than Modern Warfare 2's release a year earlier, which is a sizable chunk. Now, there probably are a multitude of reasons for this. Apparently, UK game sales were down 3% from the previous year, and they also had EA Sports FC 24 to contend with. Both games appeal to casuals, so I totally get it. But the more likely reason for this is that Modern Warfare 3 just wasn't very good, which in itself is hardly surprising because it was made in half the time as previous iterations. It got a critical mauling, and players were even less kind, as it currently sits at a lovely 1.9 user score, which means it's overwhelmingly disliked. And if that wasn't bad enough, it even got roasted at the Game Awards by the one and only Christopher Judge.
No 8-minute speech like last year, but fun fact, my speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign. What?
Now, when you get burned like that, the fight or flight response kicks in, and when you've made a game that's clearly below par, it's probably best you just go with the second option and keep your mouth shut. Well, some of the game's devs aren't going out without a fight in some now deleted tweets. Ex-Infinity Ward staff member Ajinkya Lamaye went in hard with a snarky funny before claiming that COD's metrics destroy God of War's, which Judge has previously put a lot of work into. To be fair, Lamaye later backtracked, saying that the tweet was bringing unnecessary attention and that he has no hate for God of War. Although, let's be honest, it was probably due to the backlash. And I do have a lot of sympathy for the devs. They had to deal with pretty awful deadlines and a load of layoffs, so it's really no surprise that the game is in the state that it is. But ultimately, this drop in sales is a good thing. There's always going to be people who will buy Call of Duty every single year without fail, but thank God, at least some people are speaking with their wallet. And there's enough of them that Activision, well, Microsoft will actually take notice. Because if there's anything we've learned from today's show, it's that gaming companies don't care about you or their staff or anyone, in fact. They care about money. And that at least gives us some kind of power as we can decide where we spend ours. Well, that's if you're someone that has some to spend. Please help this channel blow up so I can become one of them. And on that note, it's the end of the show. You can check out yesterday's video somewhere around here. Like and subscribe as well so I can pay for all of these hype games I've wishlisted on Steam. The Last Night Z is gonna be a banger, bro. I can feel it. I can feel it in my...